Hey, this is Cam from the Brother Slim, and we're back covering more Trench Crusade updates because the rising funding has not slowed very much at all. As I think, what is it, the third or fourth day now? I've lost track already, but what are we at here? I think it's like one good old Canadian dollarinos. 1.07 million, and I wonder if it's going to get to 2 by the end of the campaign. We shall see. We shall see indeed. But anyways, today we're here to talk about some stretch goals and a faction focus, I think, on New Antioch, which is one of my 2 favorite factions. So let's get into it really quick. This is just a quick update, which I love Jamie's phrasing here. Curse you, vile wretches, you have forced my hand. Because, spoiler alert, we are already surpassed 1 million, which is so cool. So the things that have been unlocked in this update, onto the good stuff. The Dramatis Personae from Anti-Chambers, boom boom, that's unlocked. I'm curious if we'll see more of those, like 1 per faction or something like that maybe. Martin McCoy, another amazing artist, excuse me, we'll be gracing pages of the TC book, and y'all getting a digital copy too, very nice. Gavin Thorpe, I'm not overly familiar with. He's an author, I know that, and I believe he does a bunch of Warhammer books, which would make sense with some of the connections in the industry. So cool. Cursed words for cursed times. I love that. And yeah, so that is going to be fun. More lore for the book. Love that. And then the Carcass Front, which is just a vile, amazing name. So that's the 1 million stretch goal we'll get to in a few moments here. But I think it's the New Antioch faction focus first. One thing I think I called it in the last video too, I can't recall, is just how awesome these crests are for the factions. Big fan. Okay, let's dig into New Antioch here. For 300 years, the Principality of New Antioch has stood defiantly as the focal point of the church and the faithful at the very edge of the shadow cast by the gates of hell. It is the home of all our hopes, the bulwark against heretic forces, and the first line of defense against the devil's might. Should New Antioch fall, the Levant will be lost, and the path to heartlands of the church will be left wide open. From his great fortress, Duke Constantine, I don't know which number that is, 6 or 7 maybe, of New Antioch dispatches his warbands into no man's land to do battle with the heretic forces. Led by able lieutenants advised by trench clerics, the soldiers of the faithful rely on steely discipline, combined arms tactics, and courage to counter the monstrous enemies hell sends to devour them. Very cool. Standard UMN come from all over the faithful lands to serve under the Duke, carrying their trusty bolt-action rifles to battle. Mechanized heavy infantry form the steel core of the warband, and they carry heavy weaponry such as machine guns and grenade launchers. Blind sniper priests take out priority targets, while shock troopers assault enemy trenches. Combat engineers use their satchel charges to blast apart bunkers, or especially well-armored enemies, and the fallen are tended to by the medics of St. Barbara. St. Barbara, love it. Whatever the challenge, no matter how uneven the odds, the soldiers of New Antioch are unwavering in their duty. Very cool. New Antioch field warbands. New Antioch fields warbands that specialize in combined arms warfare, unrivaled selection of armor, weapons, and equipment, as well as many specialized units perfectly suited for their battlefield tasks. Individual yeomen may not be much of a challenge to the terrifying forces of hell, but their specialized fire team rules allow teams to combine their firepower and overcome any foe. Sniper priests can pick out enemy leaders and specialists. Battlefield engineers are experts in demolition and crackling enemy armor, while combat medics can get their wounded forces back into the fray. As a commander of New Antioch, you must stay one step ahead of your foes, relying on brute force. But none have better tools at their disposal for such task. Cool. For maybe a Warhammer 40k comparison, kind of like the Imperial Guard, I can't remember what their Astra Militarum is, the modern name or whatever. So some kind of similar vibes, and especially kind of harkening back to Warhammer with the fire team kind of vibe of units rather than individual models. Yeah, I like this faction a lot. They're really neat. So these are included in the warband. There is the lieutenant. I think for this range, this might be, it's tied at the bottom for me. There's nothing wrong with it. It's cool. I like the visor for the helmet. Adds some character. This is very static and simple, I guess. Nothing wrong with it. It's just if I was to collect this army or this force, I think I would probably kit bash one. For a nice unique lieutenant, or even just use one of the other licensed official models too, because I'm sure you could just throw it in and use something different, especially with the bit sprues. Playing a fundamental role on the distant front lines of the Trench Crusade, lieutenants display unwavering resolve in preserving the unity and morale of their troops. Whether they obtained their rank through the family name or by their acts on the battlefield, these men and women are possessed by both exceptional strategic acumen and audacious bravery as fools and cowards find their military careers to be terminally short. Very nice. Sniper Priest. This is the other one that I'm not like super huge on. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it, just not quite my cup of tea. The big old beard and the no eyes is cool though, and snipers are pretty sweet too. Just I think it kind of reminds me of like some of the old school like Astra Militarum kind of priests minis from Warhammer, and yeah, those ones are just not really my jam. Devotees, absolute faith and peerless marksmanship. They ritually blind themselves as a show of their devotion to God, letting their faith in the Almighty guide their blessed rounds to smite the enemies of the Church. Their supernatural skill has brought down more than one unsuspecting commander, even at extreme distances. Very nice, very nice. This big chungus is what I'm here for. The Heavy Mech Infantry. Pilots of the Heavy Infantry divisions are pulled from the most promising soldiers in the Duke's armies, and through chemical enhancements and grueling training become walking bunkers. Heck yeah. They are sent to turn back the most devastating assaults and slay the most fearsome foes that would break the soul and bodies of normal soldiers. Big fan of these chunky lads. I like them a lot. Combat Engineer. Like this guy too, super cool. Interesting touch with the only having the one armored shoulder pad and then also like the big chunky glove. Kind of gives me some Warhammer vibes there. But it's very much its unique own thing. Nice active motion going on there too. It's cool. Me like you. Specialists in both deploying and destroying battlefield emplacements, combat engineers are equipped with close combat weaponry and heavy armor to protect them from their own explosives. Despite this, casualty rates are extremely high in the combat engineer regiments, but they consider it an honor to fight and die for New Antioch and the Church, as they should. Yeoman. I like these sculpts a lot. Like, they're clearly a unit or whatever. Like, they all come from the same cloth, you could say. The same clergy, perhaps. But they're very distinct, and I like them. Not multi-part, just makes sense. Like, there's some very specific things going on and specific poses, so I think it's a good call. I thought I remember seeing a comment maybe before the campaign saying that they might have different head options and you could choose. I don't know if that came to fruition in the end or not. Yeomen are the brave men and women who defend the walls and the trench lines of the home of all our hopes. Recruited from the faithful nations and oathed to the Duke of New Antioch, they've held line against demonic tides time and time again and must forever do so, as, should they buckle, all hope will be lost. Oh, there we go. So note, the yeomen come with head options. Sallet helms of gas masks, plus a bear head spotine, spotting their finest beret. We'll try and update the graphics on the KS page to reflect this ASAP. Cool. There's been a few notes of like wanting to see what options are available for the kits on the campaign page, and so cool to know that they are working on that to see like what the kits are actually going to break down into, if they're a single piece or if they are multi-part and need to be put together, and like what those parts are going to be. Considering there's all the bit sprues, I'm assuming all the minis will be multi-part that you need to put together on your own, because otherwise it'd be more advanced hobbying and not quite as easy as kit bashing, which is fine for a lot of people, but a lot of people are new to this, and having just the easy, I stick this arm and put it on this hand instead of that original one, it's much easier. Okay. Also, I am unfamiliar with a lot of the terminology there, so cool. Learning helmet types, which I'm probably mispronouncing. Additional models. Trench Priest. So, Trench Priest, I think, would also make a wicked lieutenant, as an example. Honestly, the engineer probably would too. Like, yeah, they're officially other minis, but you could totally just run them as lieutenant, methinks. Because lieutenant with a book and the giant cross seems very fitting too. A holy warrior who looks after the souls of the soldiers in his company. Clerics chant inspiring battle prayers, invoke miracles to heal their allies and to smite their enemies. They often carry a shrine on their backs that is dedicated to the company's patron, be that one of the saints of their homeland, a mighty archangel, or the Lord himself. I'm curious if we'll see angels on the battlefield sometime in the future. Trench Crusade, Shock Troopers. These guys go hard. Like World War Knights, basically. Like the militia knights in comparison to the heavy mechanized ones. Flameberg is, I think, the name of that sword. Super cool. Stick grenades, machine guns. Yep. Shock Troopers are cool. The sworn knights of the Duke, shock troopers take the fight to the enemy over the desolation of no man's land into the heart of the enemy. Trained in rapid assaults and equipped with heavy armor and weaponry, they pushed back the front lines as allied forces fled in behind them to secure their hard-fought gains. Cool. Yep, big fan of them for sure. And then we have another mechanized heavy infantry. No repeat blurb this time. I think the one with the machine gun is my go-to. Super cool. Another really cool one there. Yeah, so same blurb there. Yeah, the gun ones. Something about knights with guns. It's just really neat. Big fan. This is the other sniper priest. I think it's got like a machine gun or something, though. What do you think of this faction, folks? Veteran players, leave some of your favorite combos and loadouts in the comments. Just a little small thing, but always a nice touch when creators ask for information from backers and ask questions and such. Always nice. Okay, and then the biggest update for the day is that 1 million stretch goal, so let's dive into it. Pack your bags, Crusaders. We're off to the Carcass front. Once again, I really like this graphic design work that they've done. Like, clearly it's very complex, but it's done in this really simplistic, elegant fashion, and it's just the muted tones. Awesome. I like it a lot. Welcome to the Carcass front, where hell is 6 feet deep. Of all the theaters of war in Trench Crusade, the Carcass front is the most infamous. Here in No Man's Land lie the ruins of many of the holiest sites claimed by both heaven and hell, and the most talented, ambitious, and ruthless warband leaders travel here to make their fortune and name. In this map-based campaign, you'll be able to make tactical choices about the areas your warband wants to explore and conquer, what kind of end goal you will pursue, and what kind of base of operations you will establish. This expansion will include a beautifully illustrated map of the theater of war where the campaign takes place, as well as other pieces of art and literature to flesh out the horrors of this most sacrilegious of places. Full rules for campaign mode, where players make tactical choices each turn and explore an ever-shifting campaign map, unlocking unique and narrative-driven gameplay bonuses as they go along. Multiple end goals for your warband to pursue in order to claim victory, special scenarios unique to the Carcass front, special rules for weather conditions and night battles, and much more. Full rules for building your encampment along with their gameplay rules. A story-driven mode where players take the role of one of the historical leaders, such as the heretic priest Charon, or Lady Cassandra Stahl, as they vie for supremacy over the Carcass front, each driven by their inner motivations and pursuing their own goals. This will include new models to represent these named characters. Oh, that's cool. I was unaware of the new models piece. And I'm curious then, so I think we now have 3 named or specific characters, including the one that was unlocked as a stretch goal. So that means 3 more to go. So Crusaders, this is the biggest thank you we can muster. A brand new, fully developed and illustrated campaign for you to battle over. As mentioned, this was meant to be a future standalone Kickstarter campaign if this went well. As we can all see, it's done a lot more than that. All backers will receive the digital version of this campaign, including an HD version of the map, the STL files for the minis, and anything else. The estimated delivery time for this is going to be December 2025. We understand that this is a massive, please understand, this is a massive undertaking for us that will require significant game design, illustration, narration, etc., and we already have so much to do to deliver this Kickstarter. Our plan is to concentrate on the minis, finish and deliver the book, then move to this campaign. Normally, between receiving and preparing your warbands, playing through normal games in the standard campaign mode, you should have more than enough to keep you going until we can get this to you. For full disclosure, we intend to sell this later as a physical and digital project. As mentioned above, everyone backing at the observer level pledge and above will get this for free digitally. We will not be able to provide free physical copies for obvious reasons. We may be able to see about offering a discount to KS backers on physical copies, but cannot commit to anything right now as we have no idea how much these will cost to produce, nor what the final sales price will be. Thank you. Big, bold thank you. So there you have it, folks. You hit this campaign so hard, you quite literally jumped our development schedule forward by over a year. I hope you're happy. We sure are. Before we go further here, so I just want to touch on this. I think this is really cool. So when I was reading this initially, I got like a little bit worried because a big and I think easy thing to do is overcommit when you get really excited at the success of your campaign. I don't know if this is a perfect example because I don't know what was going on behind the scenes, but a TTRPG which I really like and want to run a game soon called Mothership launched in I think 2021. Had a blowout, amazing, successful campaign, very much kind of like this, where it's like very community driven, and for multiple reasons they ended up having a whole bunch of delays, which then kind of soured some people's opinions, which I thought was too bad. Like, yeah, it was late, but they delivered an amazing project, and while they didn't have the most amazing communication, my goodness, there's so much worse too. So I don't know if scope creep was part of that one or not, but scope creep is a big thing that affects a lot of projects. Kingdom Death is a huge example of that, for example. I think that's probably like the poster child for scope creep for crowdfunding. So when I read this initially, I was a little nervous because this is a whole other undertaking, which is going to take time. There's always delays of some degree, and so I would hazard it's maybe like Q1 2026 at the earliest. But who knows? I'm just an outsider from the crew here, so that's just a guess. But everything you add on is something else that you as a creator need to focus on. And so I think the fact that they're only doing this digitally and they're getting in front of the fact that we're still going to do this as a physical thing down the road and we can't promise anything as yet is really well put. And let's get into the rest here. And that's also huge. So I had mentioned, I think in the previous video about how, you know what, like it would have been nice to get this physical mini in some of the, like in more pledges than just the Beast and Heseri Arch one. And so this is awesome that if you back the Observer pledge, which is like the bare minimum to be able to get stuff, you get this thing for free, which is, that's huge. And this is going to be a huge undertaking. I say it every now and then, but I used to work in book publishing, and speaking from experience for that, a simple book could maybe come together in like 5 or 6 months flat. One that's going to have a whole bunch of art direction from different artists, a whole bunch of rules and mechanics, which is a much more complex thing to lay out, and all of the various design aspects, managing all of the different people that are involved. It's a huge undertaking. Especially to try and proof it and everything too. So it's a huge amount of work. So this is a big stretch goal. This is like massive, and pretty wild that like it was going to be its own crowdfunding campaign, and it might still to a degree in the future by the sounds of it. But huge thing for sure. Thank you. So there you have it, folks. Yes. So on behalf of us, again, sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong, James and Mike, I want to thank each and every one of you who have supported Trench Crusade, as well as all those still to come in the 12 days we have still to go. The goal was to make this kind of war game we wanted to see and make it as amazing as possible, and thanks to you all, this is going to happen. A big shout out to our Discord community. You guys are goats, and your support kept us going through development, and even now are keeping my sanity intact during these unprecedented events. This goes doubly for all of our apostles, missionaries, and wardens. We can never have done this without you. Thank you! That's pretty sweet art. Which brings me to my next point. Folks, we need to talk about Trench Crusade. I know that sounds dramatic, but hear me out. I'm going off script here. We've shot so far past our goal that Trench Crusade could become so much more than both us and you expected. First of all, regarding comments I've seen both here and on other sites, I feel like there have been certain expectations, some I may qualify as unfair, placed on us because of this success. I think it would be good to really lay out who we are, what we set out to do, and why we made the choices we did. This isn't to defend ourselves, we absolutely stand by our choices, but more to help reassure some of you. From this, we can talk about the future of Trench Crusade and stretch goals. I'll say it now, we won't be posting any more stretch goals for now. This level of success is now in the territory of serious money. Trench Crusade was meant to be a fun side project where 3 guys made a cool game alongside other creatives, and with a bit of luck, raised enough cash to keep it going casually alongside their day jobs. The level of support you've shown is the kind that changes lives. On the horizon is a world where we can not only continue to pay artists and creators every single cent they deserve for their hard work and creativity, but also one where we can have people working on Trench Crusade full time. Seasonal rules, narrative play, solo play, match play, and of course, more models. It's all possible. We're not there yet, as this is an incredibly expensive endeavor and a lot of responsibility. You can't go messing around with people's careers and lives. It needs to be done carefully, measuredly, and with long-term sustainability in mind. These are the sorts of questions that the TC crew has in front of them. We need to have a long discussion about where we'll go next with the game, as up until now, these matters were relegated to the realm of fantasy. Based on what is decided, we may have more stretch goals, but be warned, they will be very high to reflect the level of investment they represent. I'm not yet sure how we're going to handle this conversation with you all yet. A big article would be easiest, but I don't think that's as personal a discussion as this should be. Maybe a video or live stream. We shall see. This stuff is very long, so I'm going to stop it here for now. Thank you once again for all the support, patience, and understanding. Wonderful. I think that is so well worded and put, and it just really shows the detail, the craft behind the creators of Trench Crusade. Simply put, like, I think that is so well put, and I don't really know if I have anything else to comment on that. I guess I should share why, because it's a very successful campaign, and especially again for my understanding, like just all grassroots and all community driven. So fantastic campaign. And where does it go from here? And so I think for them to not get their heads in, or for the creators not to get their heads in the clouds and get really caught up in the success is really important. And I think that everything that is said in that closing